Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zane's Other View, and this video is directed towards Miss Nappy Original Girl. I had another video I wanted to give a connection to the Miss Original Girl about Mrs. Sotomayor. Unfortunately got lost. It got messed up and was deleted. Simply, I just wanted to say that I commended Miss Nappy Original Girl for her feelings about Mrs. Sotomayor, that if he says something on this video, if you don't agree with it, don't watch it. Because someone had shown this to her through excuse me, I got allergies today, through email, and I guess they were expecting her to get pissed off about it, but she said it best: this is not about me directly. This is about black women in general. Doesn't mean he's talking about me. Miss Nappy Original Girl is the one who caused all the trouble. Now, I wanted to say in that video that we as black people are mainly responsible for how our race acts. And I understand her feeling it's not about me, but in this case, what this video is being about, it kind of does cover both me as a mixed black man and you, Miss Nappy Original Girl, as a black woman. Trayvon Martin and how the media has been covering it, and the Voters' Rights Act of 1965, I believe it was 65 or 64, I believe, I can't remember. They started in 64 and then they ratified it in 1965 with a time limit on it. And I believe the man who was mainly responsible for it was the man who was part of the Ku Klux Klan once before and then supposedly left and then became a Democrat. You can check for yourself, but as far as I understand, he was one of the people that kind of pushed for a time limit on it, as far as I know. So I'm saying this as a person who has done some level of research, that if you ever wondered if the Democratic Party has always been for black people, no, it has not. So I'm going to say this about the Trayvon Martin case and the Voters' Rights Act. When it comes to both these issues, black people have one severe problem. They don't want to see what's most important. For Trayvon Martin, I'm just going to say this and I'll explain later. Black people, only thing they care about now is a spectacle. They don't 100% care about one true justice. They don't. They like a spectacle. Because if they didn't, Miss Nappy Original Girl wouldn't have said that 5,000 people left information on her Facebook and the only thing they talked about was just rotten stuff, especially the woman who was up on the stand and did lie and perjure herself. They were talking about how fat she was, she looked stupid, she looked dumb, whatever. They want a spectacle. And that's the reason why our race is very bad. Now I'm going to talk about the Voters' Rights Act and I'll come back to that later. The Voters' Rights Act, which is one of the most important bills that covers for black Americans. If people care more about a trial between a Puerto Rican and a black man, and they thought that Puerto Rican was white in the first place, then they really don't understand what's most important in their lives. They don't. And I'm going to say this very importantly. Since 65, when this was put out, our grandparents and maybe great-grandparents wanted people to understand that they deserve to be free and have the rights and privileges of everybody else. But unfortunately, after 68, once Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, as well as Robert Kennedy died, and I would say John F. Kennedy, but that was pre-68. But when those three guys died, 2 black and 1 white, that is when the race and the civil rights movement died. And I know people are going to say NAACP lives and AIM and whatever and Acorn. They are a shadow of what they could have been a long time ago. And they are only powered by one thing, and that's the black community. And after 68, the black community did not give a damn anymore. What did they do? They went selling into drugs. They went into gangs. Most of them went to jail. Most became killers. Most became drug addicts. Most just wandered around doing absolutely damn nothing. Maybe dancing in discos and not even living. Most went on to welfare and stayed on welfare because they didn't give a fuck anymore. I don't mean to curse, ladies and gentlemen, but this is how the black community has been. And by the time of the 1980s, when I was like 1983, I was 12 years old. You had people going on heroin, crack, cocaine. My half-brother went on heroin. And I think he's dead right now. I didn't talk to him after 99 because he was very sick and he really was not clear-minded anymore. But essentially speaking, that is what happened to black society. And there have been good things going on, but in general, black society has been that bad, and then it gets worse. Black society was bad after that, but then things became really worse. You know why? Our music became incredibly popular around the country, and then now around the world. Sports became very popular because of us. We're the ones that's seen in movies, television, sports, politics, the military, doctors, lawyers, you name it, we're there. And this is the problem. When we're seen all the way up to South Korea, where now they do K-pop, they call it Korean pop, Korean rap, and anything that was started by black Americans. We now have become front and center. We are the ones who are now the most well-seen race. And I know I heard people say we're being used by the media. No, we're being reported by the media because people from other countries that came here like to see what we're doing, went back to their own country and duplicated it. Imitation's the greatest form of flattery. We are the most well-seen and most flattered. But then we never changed our culture. And what makes a black culture is the way we act. We have to call ourselves nigga. How you doing, my nigga? And I heard so many people say, I don't do that. Yes, you do. We have it in our rap. We have it in our R&B. But then you don't understand that that word meant subhuman. That word was a step up from slave. From the time of the Civil War. And if you never heard of reconciliation, around 1868 to 1870, right around that time, reconciliation was formed. And get this, our ancestors had the right to have land and had the right to vote for between 2 to 5 years. Go check it for yourself. Unfortunately, it was struck down for the simple fact that there was about to become a second civil war due to it. So the states had no choice but to basically abandon it because they didn't want another civil war. And until the 50s into the 60s that we have the rights that we have now. So no one can actually say that that wasn't done before because it was done. And this is where American blacks don't get it. American blacks only understand one thing. They deserve everything their ancestors weren't given. And they will always feel like they deserve it from whites and any other race because we were the worst treated. We're not the worst treated by any other race. We have been treated worse by only one race, and that's ourselves. Because when it comes down to, and I believe Malcolm X finally understood it before his death. I really do believe this. In the early 50s into the 60s, Malcolm X, who went to jail and came out and followed the Muslim faith, he believed Farrakhan in saying pretty much, you know what, white people are the bane of the entire world. But then when he went to Mecca to pray at the big monolith, and he was standing next to his white-skinned Arab brothers, he realized, holy shit. Not in that type of context, but you understand what I'm saying. He understands it's not about the skin color and where they came from. And I know that some people can say Arabs are different from white people. No, they're not. They're still the same. 100% the same. Because you got people from Pakistan, and my ex-wife's mother is married to a Pakistani that's lighter than I am. And I'm mixed Puerto Rican, black, Native American, Chinese. My skin is pretty light, but the guy's lighter than I am. They have light-skinned people in the Arab world. Very light-skinned people. And they also have people that are in between, dark and colored. But he realized it was wrong. You cannot blame white people for everything. When you hear black Muslims in the street, particularly in New York, and you hear them that the one problem we have is all white people, they don't talk about their Arab brothers. They never talk about the people in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Georgia, Jerusalem. They have Muslims in Jerusalem. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, they have mixed blacks. Libya, they have people who have mixed colors of white, dark, and black. They're there. But they don't talk about them. Because they only want to hold one policy saying that white people are the vein of the entire world when they're not. It is our mentality. We are the most worst race that has ever treated ourselves worse. And it's not because of white people anymore. We got exactly what we wanted after the turn of the 20th century, from 1900 until 2000. Our people, no matter where they were in the country, at one form or another, had to find a way, and did find a way to get things. Adam Clayton Powell in New York. He became, I believe, a lawyer, and he worked hard, and now not only has a building in his name, but a boulevard, because he worked hard even with some levels of racism, which could have been extreme, could have been mild, doesn't matter. The man worked hard and got what he wanted. Just like every American that ever came here, who is Irish, who is Jewish, who is Polish, who is Italian, they had to bust their ass to get what they wanted, and our ancestors got it. But we don't want to see it, that we're always entitled, and that's the reason why our race will die. And Miss Nappy Original Girl, you said that the race riots that will happen between Spanish and black will happen because of our ignorance. You don't have to worry about that. That's not going to happen. The riots between ourselves will destroy us first. We will kill ourselves first before any other race, either white, Spanish, Asian, Irish, and everyone else, even Italian. They won't kill us first. We'll kill ourselves. It's not that they introduce something to us, we introduce it to ourselves. The Trayvon Martin case is a prime example of it. As long as it's all a white name, they didn't want to know the real truth. Trayvon Martin, we know that had problems. He had gone through some type of bad dealings. We know that Zimmerman isn't pure and clean either. But when it comes down to it, the real truth of how this trial is going to go down is this. Did Trayvon Martin go into that area? Yes, he did. Did he look like he could have been dangerous? Yes, he did. Because the way people dress right now is a reflection of how bad the black community is, because they simply want to dress like thugs. And I don't care what anybody says. When you dress like someone who used to be in jail, who used to be in a gang, you're going to look like you're a gang member. And you can say, oh, it's not fair. Then tell gang members not to dress like that and disband. Because as long as they're gang members who do that, you're always going to have people, even black people, are going to think the same way. And that's the main problem that Trayvon Martin did, next to attacking Zimmerman. But this is what Zimmerman did wrong. Zimmerman, who did call 911, and the 911 operator asked him who was the race of the person that you said is in your area. He told him that person was black. Not that Trayvon Martin was spoken beforehand. In other words, Zimmerman didn't tell the operator that he was black. He was asked by the operator, because the operator had to take that information. Zimmerman was told not to follow him, and he did. That was his mistake. And the final mistake was this. When Trayvon attacked him, and there are people who can collaborate on that, and said simply, I'm going to kill you, Zimmerman shot him. What do we get? We're either going to get simply manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter. My guess is it's going to be manslaughter. It will be. Will he get time? Maybe. Between 3 to 5 years, if he gets time. If they even go into that verdict, there's a possibility he will be exonerated. And that's going to piss off black people. But you know what? This is what we get. Because our culture is so messed up that we want to look just like drug dealers. We want to look like gang members. And we want to look like prisoners. This is the way we are. When you look at someone that has their pants past their ass, it's the same thing in people who have gone to jail. If you don't see this, ladies and gentlemen, then you're not seeing that our race, even though it has become highly popular around the world, we will always destroy ourselves. Because we're not willing to admit that we've been repaid. And it's time to move on. As long as we always think we got to be repaid by anybody, we'll never move on. And we will destroy ourselves. And this is not meant to insult anyone or disrespect even Miss Nappy Original Girl who's seeing this. I'm hoping you'll see that this is common sense. If you haven't seen how most of our culture has looked so bad, and most of the violence towards black people is not white, it's not Spanish, it's ourselves, that you'll understand what I'm saying. That we need to change. And one of the first things we need to do is stop using nigger. Negro is wrong. Nigger is wrong. We're the only race in existence that does that to themselves, that we took the word that our ancestors were forced to hear and made it into slang, into our own culture. No one in the entire world does that. And it's time to end it. So I'm hoping you guys will see this, and I hope you enjoy this, my thoughts. So I hope you enjoy the Zane's of the View, and subscribe and comment if you want to watch a wrestling channel. I'm really hoping people understand what's being said, and I really hope you pay more attention to the Voters' Rights Act and the Trayvon Martin case, because it's not as important as your rights. Have a good day, and oh, they can always fix it later, even though it has been mostly struck down now. Take care.